What's good, guys? We're back in with another mid-length scissor banger on my mate Jacob. This haircut has grown out from a skin fade taper on the sideburns and neckline with a grade 2 on the sides. We've left it 3 months to grow out now, so we're going to chuck some shape and texture in and figure out what we're going to do next. I've gone ahead and prepped my client for the scissor cut by giving him a shampoo and condition. This really helps saturate the hair and gives it some moisture. For nice clean sections, you'll want the hair to be as wet as possible. For the head mat, we've entered the hair with a centre profile line. This helps us get the comb in the head to find our desired section pattern. As we are introducing a soft round shape into the sides, I've chosen to go with a delta section at the top of the head. This separates the sides from the top so that we can start our diagonal graduation. To get our delta section, we're creating 2 radial lines from the crown to each ear, and then taking a line from the crown to each procession point. As this is a backwards moving haircut, I'm starting at the temple area and working my way back towards the nape, influencing the hair to flow back. Taking our first section no wider than the teeth of our comb, we're placing the comb in at the temple and scooping underneath the comb for maximum tension, and then cutting our first guide. We'll then follow this guide back towards the nape with no other direction, following the natural curvature of the head. This means that every section is cut perpendicular to the shape of the skull, resulting in a soft, round shape. I've opted for this shape as we want the haircut to flow with no weight lines. The idea of this haircut is a nice, soft, natural texture that can be worn in various different styles. Once the diagonal graduation has been completed on one side, repeat the same steps for the other side before moving on to the back section. So moving on to the back, it's time to marry up our shape. Find the shortest point at the right and left side and cut the middle to match. Follow these horizontal sections up the back of the head, making sure not to be too scissor happy at the top of your shape. It's important to build weight around the crown so that we've got some movement when it comes to styling. A short crown is a recipe for disaster. Once the middle section is complete, repeat this process left and right of the original section, and then we're moving on to the top. Rewet the hair, and using facial features for reference, take a centre profile line from the corner of each eye or the bridge of the nose. Find the apex, which is the top of the head, and cut in your first guide. For Jacob, we're retaining length, so we're just adding a little bit of texture and shape, and using a point cutting technique so that we're not creating blunt lines. Follow this guide to the front and back, and then move on to your next section. The next section is going to be to the left or right of the original one, and following the same process as the profile line, cut this section to match with no other direction, as we're not trying to build any extra weight on the corners of the shape. Complete this process for the left and right side before moving on to the crown. As we approach the crown, we're sticking to our round shape and following the curvature of the head. Like I said, we're only trimming Jake's hair, so we're just connecting the dots and influencing the shape. Remember, keep that crown nice and healthy. So we've now moved on to the nape. This is the external shape of our haircut, and this is the most aesthetically pleasing, so it's important to work some magic here. Using a Keisho or feather razor, comb the hair down to the nape with zero elevation. Use the back of your hand to create maximum tension and clean up the stray hairs. Follow left and right of your original section, remembering to curve the line slightly towards the ears. Now we've reached the mastoid area, we're switching up our technique and grabbing our scissors. Pull the hair down to the edge of the hairline and clean up any stray hairs that are out of shape. Once you've completed that for both sides, grab your trimmers, lift the hair and remove any neck hair. If your client is an extra hairy geezer, then whip off those conjoining back hairs as well. For the bit we all love, it's time for a little bit of texture. We're going to be using a slicing method this time, and following the style of the haircut, we're channel cutting towards the nape. This method allows us to slice the hair in the direction of growth, influencing movement and natural texture. If you want, you can pick up the feather razor if that's what you're more comfortable with, and razor in the same fashion. There's not really any right or wrong method of texture, you're the artist, and it's up to you to decide if the hair needs some bulk removed. As what texture boils down to is an extra removal of weight so that the hair can get some natural separation. If your client has thin hair, this hair wouldn't really require any extra texture, and it'll be fine with a blunt cut to retain the weight. Finally, for the part we've all been waiting for, it's time for some product and a good old blowy. I've opted for a fingertips worth of Ruger Essential. This product is nice and versatile. It's essentially a styling paste that works well in damp hair with a good old blow dry. To dry Jake's luscious locks, we're using our fingers as we want to enhance natural separation, and the grease from our fingers and the product will allow the hair to stay a little bit more shiny and hydrated. There's nothing worse than when you dry away all of the natural moisture, leaving the hair looking beaten up and withdrawn. Generally, with a scissor cut, you'll want to keep the hair at 20% damp and let the elements do their work. Thanks for choosing to spend your hard-earned free time with your boy. We're now at the end of the haircut. Jake's looking buff ting, and hopefully you've learnt a thing or two. If you're enjoying these scissor cut tutorials, get your little selves over to the haircut playlist, play all of them so I can get views and you can get some free tips. I'm CMC Barber and you are lovely. Catch you in a bit.